If you are a woman entrepreneur searching for answers to having both business success and spiritual fulfillment, this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Irina Baker, a spiritual self awareness mentor and a best selling author. Welcome to my podcast, Radiant. Your business is your spiritual journey. I'm here today with Adrian Jamil. And Adrian actually has been a student of yoga for more than 40 years, integrating professional training and personal practice. She holds a master's degree in exercise physiology with a specialty in anatomy and kinesiology. These are very, very exciting topics to me. She's the founding director of the Dharmic Institute, providing advanced level education for certified yoga teachers in female anatomy and yoga pose alignment. And she's the creator of the nation's first yoga teacher training with a specialty in women's health and wellness. Adrian lives in New York, Manhattan, and she has private practice in New York City. And you can find her on Instagram at Yoga Like a Woman. Hi, Adrian.
Hey, Irina.
I'm so glad to have you here because it's an exciting topic that we're going to discuss and it holds personal interest to me. So let's see how it will unfold.
Yes, I'm so delighted to see the mystery of how it will unfold.
Exactly. Let's talk about mystery. So, first of all, we're going to talk about, Adrian has a unique, in my opinion, very interesting and unique approach to yoga, because I personally myself had been yoga student, or I've been doing yoga. I'm not calling any big advancement in that, but I've been doing yoga like everybody else and didn't think twice about it, because you go to a gym and you get instruction and that's about it. And when I met Adrian, I was amazed because Adrian offered such a unique approach that my ears got open, and also because it exactly relates how we should do business also as women. So we're going to talk about that because we're women entrepreneurs on this podcast, uh, being on a journey of business and a spiritual journey at the same time. So yoga and business are very, very much related, and our approach to that is very, very much alike. So let's start with that. So how did you discover your approach to yoga?
Well, Irina, I love that weaving together that you just did of yoga and how we show up in our life and business, because to me, that is what my orientation is around yoga. It's a spiritual practice, but for me, it's a way of looking at life and experiencing life. So I love that weaving together, that I do absolutely feel that women have a different way of orienting to yoga that I have seen physically, but also to how we actually live our life. So what happened is, now I went to graduate school and I learned anatomy, which I have come to realize is the anatomy I learned and that we all learned was male anatomy. So when I began to teach anatomy for yoga, I wanted to bring a human skeleton around. And when I went to purchase the skeleton and said, how much is it? $600. I said, fine, give me a female skeleton. And they said $1,500. And I went, no, I don't think so. So I purchased a female pelvis. And when I brought it home and took the female pelvis out of the box, I saw, oh my goodness, the hip sockets were not the same as I had learned in graduate school. They were not the same that everyone learns in medical school. They were oriented in a different way. And I think that's a perfect metaphor for women in business. We are oriented in a different way that has not been acknowledged. And I love what you're doing because it's supporting us to go, there's a different way than I have been taught. And let's find some support from women to follow our own way. And that's what I do in teaching yoga.
So well said, so well said, because exactly, I do believe that the traditional male world dominated, the whole world that is dominated by males, and no disrespect to anybody, but we have to acknowledge that women are on the rise, female energy is on the rise, and we absolutely cannot do business in a traditional male way because we have to honor our female ways. And your topic is so relevant to that, so it's very good to understand, and it would be a great visual because already as women we understand. You looked at women's female pelvis and you saw it's different.
It's different. So we stand in a different way. And again, I love this because what I'm seeing is not only do I stand in a physical different way, but I stand in that way in my relationships. The way we stand is different. So what I love about being able to share movement and yoga poses that are part of how women are designed is it gives us strength and power to stand in our own truth that we must take into the world at this time. That's just the way I see it, is that women have a voice. We need to know how to stand in our own truth. So clearly, movement is a big part of that. And then that frees our voice once we realize, oh my goodness, everything that I've been taught about how my body moves is actually not the case.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
is
I see people around going to yoga classes, going to yoga practices. Nobody even thinks twice about it. They just do yoga and they don't even realize. But we do all know that yoga comes from India and from other places, right? And when we think about India, what first comes to mind? Some guru male, guru man sitting basically on the throne, and we should have a picture of him and basically worship that guru, and it's guru, the teacher, not even the teacher but bigger, the master. And that's what I always thought about yoga, the yogi usually. And even in some books they say, they look at us as Westerners. Well, we don't know much. They're very much into yoga and they are masters. And who are we? That's what I was reading in books. So that was interesting. And I never wanted to worship any man. I never wanted to have a picture of any man looking at me and calling them guru. And what's your stance on that? I know it's very similar to mine, very actually the same. So how would you say it?
Those are many of the traditional ways of a lineage in yoga, as you're describing now, is that the lineage is passed down from someone who is considered to be the master and has experience and hopefully life experience and wisdom. So those are particular ways that lineage is passed down. So not all of yoga is considered from those kind of lineages. But that was a challenge for me going into yoga because I think that I was already 40 years old before I decided to do any kind of training in yoga. I had the movement from graduate school, but I was already 40. So to walk into an environment that had a picture of, actually in one of my places that I learned had a female guru. So that's not only males. I had a problem for myself, but I realized that what I did is I took the gold or the gems, and I just was okay leaving the other part behind, which is I didn't even notice that they were on the walls. I'm not disrespectful. It's just not my thing. Do you know?
Very good, sir. Very good, very well said. Yet you do not want to be called guru, right?
Yeah, so you know that about me, Irina, is that I
That's where
have
I'm leading towards.
exactly. Because Because what lights me up is being able to collaborate, be an ally of yoga, be an ally of what I love, which is the cell beings, is how I describe the inner wisdom of our cells. I want to be a collaborator with women. I don't want to be a teacher or a guru or a master. What I want is for us to be the knowers of our own self, and that I feel like I can hold the space for women. And I have. I've been in private practice for 35 years. That's what I do. I hold the space to collaborate with my clients so that they know what they know. That's what lights me up. Yeah. So if somebody wants to see me as a teacher, I consider that them putting the burden of what they need to know for themselves on me. And that doesn't feel good.
Mhm.
So I just am very kind of asking back, how does that work for you? How does that feel for you?
And I do believe that this is a woman's approach because women do like collaboration versus, and again, I am not against men, of course, I'm not against any of it, but we do have to acknowledge the different way. And somebody has to speak up and say, hey, as female, we're different biologically, we're different in our thinking and feeling. We're just different. It's not doesn't mean worse or better or worse, but it's just different. And the same way in traditional business, it's always somebody
Yes.
guru, the master, and you have to, and spiritual as well, right? I remember, well, I spent 30 years on the spiritual path by this time already, and people try to call me a master, and I said, heck no, I'm no close, I'm not a master at all. I will be a master when I ascend. I believe that ascended masters have earned that right to be masters because their ego already is in check, and the ego will not inflate because they just somebody calls them a master. And a lot of people here, I don't say everybody, but it's my stance that some of the people use this master just to have that control over people or to have their ego inflamed to be as a master or the guru, and that's not a female approach. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that it's not the female approach of these two females. I can't, I
That's for
can't,
sure.
I can't, I can't speak for all females, but what
Uh-huh.
I can say is that any women that I resonate with, and I imagine that you resonate with, have this feeling. That's,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
exactly. So I think that um, for me as well, coming from the orientation that I do, is that I'm also feeling like I'm an ally of our embodiment. So when you talk about control, I think that's a big part of how yoga and much of what we get is shared, is the control. Like it really is such a heart disturbance for me when I hear control your abdomen, tighten your belly, pull up, brace. It's just feeling so uncomfortable for me to control the female body that way. It's
So
like,
what do you
no,
propose? What do you propose to do? How do you teach? What do you say?
I say, I move actually, really, I guess the difference is that I am not trying to control the minutia or the muscles, those kind of things, which is impossible for the thinking mind to know how to tighten up the abdomen. There are like a trillion cells there. Which ones do you want to tighten? Which it's just impossible. So I go and coach from moving the bones. If I ask you to lift your hand, that's actually lifting up the bones. And the body cell beings know how to do that. So
Wow.
I'm asking us, so how would the pelvis want to be? And then asking the pelvis to be like that. And then all the cells that are the muscles are asked by the nerves to do that. We need to step back away from control. I mean, that is, we don't have to control, the nerve cell beings know what the heck to do.
So are you saying the body has consciousness, which we already know, of course, So is this what you are trying to say? In other words, the body has consciousness and the body will follow what you're asking it to do. So you're in collaboration, not only with your clients, but actually with the body.
And with their cell beings, they
Right.
are with, so cell beings are living, and that is something that is not any longer, the definition of a cell is a unit, the smallest unit. It's so objectifying. Cells are living. In fact, the cells have created the entire embodiment. There isn't anything anywhere that the cells haven't created with their own little cell being bodies. So they are the embodiment of physical consciousness. So they, and it's like the idea that we have to tell someone how to walk is kind of ludicrous in a way, is that the cells know how to do that. They know what muscles to ask. They know all of this. So the problem comes is when you want to make a woman fit a pose that is not like their own body. If you are telling me how to fit myself into a male-based pose, then you're going to say, okay, tuck in your tush, tighten up your boobs. You know, you're going to give me all these directions to try to look like a man in the pose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And instead, you are taking the approach of talking to the cells and asking them to do something. So you said lift the bones, so you're talking to the bones as well. Are you talking to the bones? How do you do it?
Okay, so now one of my loves is training yoga teachers in anatomy.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my clients as well. I mean, they don't have to have a PhD, but they need to know there are 3 bones on the bottom of the feet, and that's where we're meant to stand. So when we're talking about that, I don't have to tell you how to stand. I say, Irina, can you feel these under the big toe, under the pinky toe, and the heel? Yes. So dance around and land on them. And so I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm saying, here are the bones. The nerves know exactly what that feeling is like. They can tell the muscles to land on those bones. And maybe the first time, no, or the second time, no. But I trust me, if I say, hey, Irina, hey, let's dance around and land on the tripods. That's just what happens. There's no effort. They know, the feeling will tell you how to do it. If I ask you, Irina, put your finger on your nose, close your eyes and do that. It's like, how do I do that? How do I put my little finger?
Mm-hmm.
They know themselves in space.
So how different, how much different? Is there a drastic difference between what they teach usually, the traditional male way, and what you teach as a female way? Yoga like a teacher. I mean, yoga like a woman.
So I love how you frame that. Is I don't know necessarily say that it's drastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's significant, and
Mm-hmm.
the results are drastic.
Mm-hmm.
Not doing it, because it increases the risk of injury. Because if you are doing a pose that does not reflect your hip joint orientation, and you believe that your hip joints can go directly out to the side, like male hip joints do, and everyone is telling you, open up your hips, and what you picture as open is male hip joint, it's only a matter of time, if you're a devoted student or a devoted teacher, that you have violated the boundaries of your own hip joint.
Mm.
And this is a boundary issue for me. And I think that women are consistently been taught to, I do. I think that we give up our boundaries. We've been taught to be, I think, well, I can say, maybe not everyone, to be more passive, to be more submissive, to be more a people pleaser, and not stand for our boundaries. So I think the amazing thing is that when I start to work with women and they start to feel their boundaries in their own body and stand for that and become an ally of their own boundaries, it can't help but show up in their other relationships, body
Of
and
course.
yeah,
Right,
body
right.
and then out.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
And how about those difficult words that we can't even pronounce. I also had, maybe I'm feeling feisty today because I've been keeping it to myself, but I guess I'm just saying it out loud now. All these words that in Sanskrit and in Hindu and Rama Shama Hama Shara, sorry, I cannot even say what it is because when we're in yoga, it's all in some kind of in a different language. And why can't we just translate it into English and just say in a simple plain words? What your stance about it? I always felt like, why do I need to remember all of this in some foreign language when I can do it in English?
So I will say that in the beginning was the word. That's in Christianity and in Hinduism. Okay, so that the word itself, the energy, the sound of it is super meaningful for the spiritual practice. So that's, and I will hold that container. I myself am a long-term chanting, bhajan chanting, singing with thousands of people. And so I know that the language, the breathing together is significant. When I work with a client, my feel is, what is your body? How do you feel in your body? The moment I use an anatomical term, because I think that a lot of us gravitate towards thinking we know something because I can say the biceps femoris and the femur and use those. I've heard teachers use those words in class. So I don't think saying femur is any different than saying Om Namah Shivaya. It goes into the head, and as a person, I'm trying to figure out what that means. So I let go of all of that. And I do tend to use simple language that everyone will be able to understand without having to even think about it. And then as I moved through and in my practice, I fell in love with chanting. But I don't bring that first because I think that is an obstacle. Well, because Irina, if I were working with you, I want you to feel yourself and not go up here and go, why do I have to learn to, I don't even want to present that to you. But there are teachers who love that so much and feel they must bring the Sanskrit because that is the waves, sound waves that influence the body. So I will hold to that as well, is that every teacher needs to do who she is. Every woman who's in business using spirituality needs to be who she is.
You explained it beautifully, Adrian, because I work a lot with words with my clients, and I do use English, the English language, not Russian, as I know fluent. I speak also Russian fluently, but only English words. And well, every word has specific meaning and specific vibration. And that vibration is very important. When we get to the issue, we have to get the correct word. So yes, that's a very familiar, well, not only familiar, I use this concept and I use this principle. So thank you for explaining this.
So I love that, is that if I hear what you're saying, and please, I may not be getting it right, but when something arises with you and your client, there's a specific word, but that might come from their heart.
It has to. It has
Yeah,
to.
so
Because
that's it.
they have to use their own words to get their own
Exactly.
issue.
So the vibration comes from their own, oh, see, to me, the cell beings, the body, the vibration of my embodiment to say, here's a word that will vibrate for where I need to be. Did I get that?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
So well, I also know you in a business sense, Adrian. We've been business colleagues for quite some time by now. And just tell us about your approach to business as a yoga teacher, as a yoga person. I think you're not just, and you don't call yourself a teacher, but you are, you your yoga being, because you're so passionate about yoga. Yoga is in your bone, every bone and your being, right? Yoga is in all your cells. So that's what I hear, because all this time I've known you, it's been yoga. And so as that yoga being, the passionate person with yoga, how do you use this in business?
Wow. Ho- So I'll just tell that I don't know that I use it. So I would have to pull back on that
Oh,
word.
you do.
Okay, so I'll take that
You
out.
do.
So I guess here's what I will say. I never had a business card. And so my clients that I've had a full-time private practice in New York City, where when I moved here, they said, well, you can't do that. No one, and I didn't want to work 6 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock at night, which is what everyone said if you're in private practice, because all your clients will be working and
Mhm.
you will have to work when they're not working. And I looked and I went, yeah, that doesn't sound like a really fun job. So I said, if you want to consider this how I went through spiritually, I said, no, I'm not going to build a life where I worked morning and evening that I don't want to. So I sat back and went, well, who do I want to work with? So I would consider this to be somewhat not a way that business school is going to teach me how to do it. I said, who do I want to work with? Who could understand this? And I went, I think therapists, because they're in the same deal, is that, and they also have space within their day, oftentimes, and they know that they need to move. So
Yes,
that's, and I did not, this is the spiritual part of my life. I
exactly.
did not go out and do ads. I did not do anything. I just held that and said, I don't want to work morning and night. And I think therapists are the way to do it. And therapists came,
A-
and then
And that's your way.
they referred me. And that's how my
Exactly. So
practice built. I had a full-time practice with psychotherapists. Yeah.
very nice. And
So that's what I
spirit,
guess I could
spirit
say is,
takes you, divine brings you clients,
yes,
and you don't need to push and force and really go and twist anybody's arms. You set your boundaries, you set your stance where
yes,
you are,
yes.
and it's been happening.
Yes. And so what I can say is that clearly I'm dedicated, I'm passionate, I have incredible amount of education. So it's not like I just am not the best person that you could possibly get, which I think it is. If you resonate and I resonate and we're collaborating, I've had my clients for 30 years because we keep growing together. And I think that's the foundation of a spiritual based business, is that,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So would you agree that your business is your spiritual journey?
uh, Yes, I wouldn't even consider, um, I guess you could say it. If I'm in private practice, that's a business, isn't it? So there's not even a question.
Of course it's a business.
My
You are in
entire life.
business.
Okay.
Yes.
Then that means that my entire life, my growth, my everything in my life, everything in my life has been in a spiritual practice of collaborating with women. And that's my business. No business card, full-time private practice.
And I've been hearing a lot about when you say, I want to have fun. I don't want to have to force anything. So could you comment on that? Because that's what I was waiting for you to say. That's the second principle,
Okay, the
spiritual
second
way, right?
principle.
Uh-huh.
All right, I do. I love that. No business card, and I'm really not. It just doesn't feel like me. There's a group of women that I feel like you're speaking to who get that business is a spirit, is also part of their spiritual orientation and how they can live in that. And feel that what we're saying now is there's a different way than the way that we have been given or inherited of systems that males created. And bless them, really, I'm not finding fault. It just is so not my way. And more women are feeling that way. And as I talk with them, we're saying, okay, it's got to be fun. It has to be joyful. And that is one of the ways that we're finding, does this work or not? Is it a hell yes or a hell no? It has to be fun or joyful for it to be a hell yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And it has to flow. And when we do have joy and when we're happy doing what we love to do, then it's a green light flow and we're in a full mode of creation. We're
Yeah.
creating. So I do believe that traditional business about survival, because bottom line, how much money we will make, how much we survive. Even if I'm making a lot of money, I still have to survive. That's just subconscious message that keeps constantly coming up the surface, right? And I do
Yes.
believe that this way of doing, when you bring divine into your life, and which is the feeling of love, feeling of joy, feeling of creating, it's a creation mode. It's not survival. Would you agree?
It, uh, I have tingles. I have tingles going. Yes, because my cell beings agree as well. And they gave me tingles right there, which is how I know that that's my inner knowing of, yes, that's a hell yes. So I don't have to think about if I agree with you. They already said yes, yes, yes.
Exactly. And that's the way. We don't, and by the way, that's the way of intuition as well. Intuition is in the body, it's inside, and it's not a thinking. People think, and yet women like to feel as well, right? So intuition is the feeling, and so many people don't trust their intuition. It's another way we're saying we don't trust our feeling.
Right. And so what I love about how I have been able to be colleagues with women is that it's about felt sense and intuition. That is absolutely it. And I get to validate with anatomy. So the kind of thought, or however we want to say that, the facts, the evidence base, all of that, I have in my back pocket. And I can say when they go, oh, I have this sensation here. And I ask them, do you have a sense of where that came from? No. And then I'll say, oh, well, just make up a story. It absolutely doesn't have to be right. Just make up a story about how that might have happened. And I've never had them in 30 years, a woman that not know exactly. Oh, maybe it was when I was trying to put the bag up on the shelf. And then I go, oh, wow, point to it. And then I can tell them, that's exactly how it probably happened because you're pointing to this muscle right here that does that. So that I can, and now my clients don't have to, they know right away, okay, how could it happen? And they trust themselves to know. And all I've done is validate with the anatomy. Because we have been trained that your feeling and intuition is not always welcomed by people. Because where's the facts? So this is my way of combining those together.
I totally agree, because, and I know we're very much alike in our perspective and approach, because I also, even though I say male, female, different ways, but I do not discard one way or another. It's just time has come to make them equal and bridge them together, not discarding one or the other. Because with the traditional business, intuition was discarded, feelings were taboo. It's business, it's not personal, it's business. It's even cliche, but it's actually personal. Everything is personal because it relates to you. It relates to the feelings. And so by saying it's business, not personal, people just say that it's actually, let's think about it, let's not feel about it. So
Yes.
I firmly believe, and that's what I teach, is we have to combine feeling and thinking together.
Yes.
And we have to switch from head to toes, or vice versa, head to feet or feet to toes, because people always praise thinking first, but
Yeah.
actually feeling is the powerhouse. And that's a big discovery for some, because feelings were discarded. There are antidepressants, but do we have antidepressants against thinking? We only have antidepressants against feeling, right?
Absolutely. That's exactly right. And I know, with great respect and love, there are lots of people I would like to give a little pill to so they would stop trying to terrorize me with all their thinking.
Exactly. Exactly. So we want to honor both and we want to combine the both, bridging
Yeah.
the both together. Yes. Thank you so much, Adrian. Is there anything else you would like to add about your approach and your way of, or what would you like to tell women, business women, women entrepreneurs about doing yoga like a woman or doing business like a woman?
I, wow. If it doesn't feel right in your body, at least entertain the possibility that it's not right for you. That whatever the system is, or whatever the thinking is, or whatever the yoga position is, or the bicycle pedals are, because it's not just yoga. It's the world we live in was designed for men, by men. And so much of what we have to, the furniture we sit in, the bicycles we ride, do not fit our body. So just always, if you wonder about, could this be me or is it them? At least know that it might be the instruction or the system, and not take for granted that there's something wrong with us.
Trust yourself, validate
Right.
yourself.
Yeah.
Do not
And get
discard yourself.
and get a bunch of women together who are going to support this way, which is a spiritual orientation to whatever we do.
Right. Great advice. Great advice. Thank you so much, Adrian.
Join me in my conversations by subscribing to this podcast. And remember, everything is possible with the divine.